Remember Ubisoft? The company that gave us Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six? They're now losing hundreds of millions of dollars, and their stock has crashed over 80% from its peak. This isn't just another corporate stumble. This is watching a gaming titan potentially collapse in real time. Picture this. In 2020, Ubisoft was riding high. Their stock was soaring, Assassin's Creed Valhalla was breaking sales records, and they employed 19,000 people across the globe. Fast forward to today, and the company just posted a loss of 159 million euros. That's about $178 million. Gone. Their stock price? Down over 50% just this year alone. But here's where it gets wild. While competitors like Electronic Arts operate with profit margins around 36%, Ubisoft is scraping by at 8%. They employ more people than EA or Take-Two Interactive, yet their market value is a fraction of theirs. EA is worth $38 billion with 13,000 employees. Ubisoft? Just $1.7 billion with 19,000 employees. So what happened? How does a company that created some of gaming's most beloved franchises end up here? The warning signs started appearing around 2018. That's when Ubisoft began what insiders call their low-risk strategy. Instead of innovating, they started playing it safe. Every new game followed the same formula. Massive open world, climb towers to reveal the map, clear enemy outposts, collect hundreds of items. Sound familiar? Players started calling it the Ubisoft formula, and not in a good way. Then came the disasters. Skull and Bones, a pirate game that spent over a decade in development hell, finally launched in 2024 to devastating reviews. Players called it a pathetic excuse for a game. The UK sales? Less than a quarter of what Sea of Thieves achieved years earlier. Star Wars Outlaws should have been a slam dunk. It's Star Wars. But players found it underwhelming, describing it as just another familiar Ubisoft cocktail with a world bloated with repetitive filler. The game underperformed so badly, it contributed to layoffs in January 2025. And XDefiant, their attempt at a free-to-play shooter, it's shutting down this June, barely a year after launch. The failure was so complete, it led to the closure of entire studios in San Francisco and Osaka. But the product failures were just part of the problem. In 2020, Ubisoft faced a massive workplace misconduct crisis. Multiple executives, including their chief creative officer, were accused of harassment and toxic behavior. Over 1,000 employees signed an open letter saying leadership offered nothing more than a year of kind words and empty promises. The trust between employees and management shattered. Since then, Ubisoft has laid off over 3,000 people. They've closed studios, cut costs, and shifted from hiring full-time developers to using contractors and freelancers. Industry insiders call this deprofessionalization, basically hollowing out their talent pool to save money. Meanwhile, Ubisoft kept making decisions that angered players. Remember when they tried to sell NFTs in Ghost Recon? The announcement video got a 96% dislike ratio on YouTube. Or when they shut down the Crew's servers, making the game completely unplayable even if you owned a physical copy. Their legal response essentially told players they don't actually own their games, they're just licensing them. Even their successful franchises started struggling. Assassin's Creed transformed from a stealth action series into massive RPGs that take 100 hours to complete. Far Cry 6 was criticized for feeling too familiar. The next Far Cry? Delayed until at least 2026, marking the longest gap between releases in the franchise's history. Here's the thing, though. Rainbow Six Siege keeps succeeding. It maintains 30 million active players and generates consistent revenue. But it's also packed with battle passes, loot boxes, and monetization systems that blur the line between playing and paying. And that's Ubisoft's new strategy: turn everything into a game as a service. So where does this leave them? Enter Tencent, the Chinese gaming giant. They're investing 1.16 billion euros for a 25% stake in a new Ubisoft subsidiary that will control Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. It's a lifeline, sure, but it also means Ubisoft is essentially selling off pieces of itself to survive. The company projects they'll roughly break even next year, but with their track record of missed targets and failed launches, that seems optimistic. Their new Assassin's Creed Shadows did show strong initial sales, which proves they can still make hits, but one success doesn't fix systemic problems. So what do you think? Can Ubisoft turn this around, or are we watching the slow death of a gaming giant? The real tragedy here isn't just about corporate losses or stock prices. It's about a company that once pushed gaming forward is now being known for playing it safe. It's about thousands of developers losing their jobs. It's about beloved franchises potentially disappearing or being carved up and sold off. Ubisoft still owns incredible properties. They still have talented developers. The Tencent deal gives them breathing room, but without fundamental changes, new leadership, genuine innovation, rebuilding trust with both employees and players, they risk becoming just another cautionary tale in gaming history. The next 2 years will decide everything. Either Ubisoft emerges leaner and more focused, ready to reclaim its place among gaming's elite, or it continues this painful slide toward irrelevance. The gaming industry is watching, players are watching, and time is running out. Because here's the harsh reality. In gaming, you're only as good as your last release, and for Ubisoft, too many of those releases have been disappointments. They've gone from a company that defined genres to one desperately trying to keep up, from innovator to imitator, from gaming giant to a company fighting for survival. The collapse might not be sudden or dramatic. It might be slow, piece by piece, studio by studio, until there's nothing left but the memories of what Ubisoft used to be. Unless they can remember what made them great in the first place, taking risks, trusting creative vision, and putting players first. The clock is ticking.